March 28th. So someday when you're a grandma, you'll have this whole story. Well, when was your bat mitzvah, grandma? And you'll say, well, it was supposed to be this day, and then it was that day. And they're going to say, Grandma, you've told us this story before. But you have rearranged it. So when is your new date?
August 22nd.
August 22nd. Well, that is great. So in essence, you're just going to have 2 bat mitzvah anniversaries in the time to come, all right? So that'll be great, great memories. And I know we have some friends from the great city of Las Vegas and Henderson and maybe even the state of California watching. And we're so glad that you can participate in anticipation of your bat mitzvah. So mazel tov in advance. And thank you, Haydin. All right.
Can you hear us now?
What, they couldn't hear a word I said?
Not the whole beginning. No, sorry.
Nothing?
We need a sound person to do it. I can't.
How much did...
They got the Haydin part. They got Haydin.
Oh, God.
Yes.
You missed all my great jokes.
I had it set to the microphone we were trying out last week. It was totally my fault. I'm really sorry. But hopefully you can hear us now.
All right.
Yes, now they can hear.
She is waiting for me to say, you're fired, as our sound guy. She'll go, okay.
Hi.
All right.
Video, sound.
So they missed the whole chit-chat at the beginning. That is so disappointing.
We didn't say anything really important.
Okay, well, we'll let God be the judge, because God's the only one who heard it.
Yes.
So they heard Haydin, so we welcome her. She's going to help lead the service in anticipation of her bat mitzvah that was moved from March to August. And we look forward to some events this week. Tomorrow morning, 8:45 for you early risers, we have Torah study. And then we will have Hasidic Tales, the 6th in a 2-part series on Wednesday. It's been an amazing journey. And we're kind of having a little suggestion contest on what I should teach next. So I think we're almost to the point of doing something light-hearted because it's the summer. But what is your suggestion?
How to be a Jewish singer.
How to be a Jewish singer.
I think that's your forte, don't you think?
Yes. I think I could teach that.
Okay.
I'll just say whatever I do the opposite. No, it's actually going to be on Jewish humor, what makes a Jew laugh. A serious look at what tickles our funny bone. So it's pretty good. And then, of course, we have our weekly schmooze on Thursday and Taste of Judaism. If you know people who have slept through religious school, or maybe they're not Jewish, but they're curious about what Judaism has to say about the world, Thursday night, come to Taste of Judaism, the 2nd in a 3-part series. And in between, Cantor, you have some good stuff coming up.
Yes, so we're starting a new Neshama series. So this is going to be a really cool setup with 4 different classes. Ricky will be teaching one of them. I don't know if you can see Ricky I don't think you can see him, but he's here. And he's going to be teaching Neshama Strength at the first week in July. And before that, this week we have Colleen Craig Friedman, and she will be doing a Neshama dance. So it'll be like, we'll have dance, we'll have some soulful introspective moments. We also will have our Neshama Flow, which is like a yoga class with Cassidy, and then Carrie Marshall will be teaching a Neshama meditation. So that's going to be new this week. Also, Lila Tove, we'll have that as we've had, and then we also are going to be concluding in the next few weeks our Hebrew Bootcamp. So if you wanted to jump in for a little refresher on some Hebrew, you can jump in for that as well.
And all this they can learn about through our website or Facebook page. So if we went too fast, all that's available. We've been getting a lot of questions this week, and it is, when is the temple going to be open? When can we come back for services? And the answer is, not quite yet. All right, it's a little bit more complicated. We're opening for bat mitzvah, a small wedding. We're kind of putting a little toe in and seeing how it goes. We have a small staff, and as you know, we're going to have people wear masks. We're probably going to take your temperature. We have a little thermometer that goes and takes it from the forehead. We have social distancing, and of course, a lot of people still want the web streaming. And whether you realize it or not, the camera we're using is about 7 feet from where we stand right now. So a lot of things to figure, and we have a COVID-19 committee, and they're looking at all those things to see what's possible, what's not quite possible. But if you think that you would like to be a committed volunteer to help on Friday nights, which means that you're gonna, when you say you're gonna be there, you're gonna be there, and you're gonna be someone who is going to help. We're gonna train you, and you might be a person who takes, for example, you'll work the thermometer, or maybe you'll make sure that there's proper social distancing. there's little tricks of this new reality that we're going to need some people who know what they're doing every Friday, and we hope that if you're ready to volunteer and you know that you're not in an at-risk category, all right, we're counting on you. We're not going to take Dad's car keys, but we're counting on you to know yourself and know whether you fit that government guidelines. We need you to volunteer in anticipation of opening, and you can send me or Cantor an email or Roberta an email, so that way we can get going and open before you know it. All right, anything else? I think that's it.
I'm just getting like how to use the camera from all the commentary here. So I'm gonna stop looking at your commentary so that I can pray and lead you in prayer, because it's distracting me. But I took the banner off for you. I got the sound on. Let's do Shabbat.
All right, Ricky, it's Shabbos. Or as Joe Buchanan would say, Shabbos!
Yes. Oh, yeah. Page 131, we sing to God a new song. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash, Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along, all the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song. I will sing unto God a new song.
So we take out our Shabbat candles in preparation for the Shabbat blessings, page 120.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadliknem shel Shabbat.
Sit down. Page 125. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? Joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Continue with Lachado D, page 138.
We welcome the Shabbat Bride. Verses 1, 2, and 9.
Shabbat Nikabela.
לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Verse 9. We rise to greet the Shabbat Bride.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Page 146, we remain standing for our call to prayer, Baruch Hu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, u'bitvuna meshane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et hakochavim, b'mishmarotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
Umavir yom u'meiri layla, umavdil ben yom u'ben layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim.
This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over?
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand. Be wise to listen to know. Lead me into the mystery.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael.
O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated. We continue on page 234 for the Ve'ahavta.
154 if you're in our evening service. If she's in the bat mitzvah service, it makes sense.
There you go. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anohi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'divarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvleftecha v'derech ushakvecha uvkumecha ukshartam leod al yodecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yatem kiddushim leolehem ani Adonai Elohehem asher hotzeiti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lahem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohehem Adonai Elohehem emet. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that in the winding way, that the promise paces through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל הכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ועברו כולם.
Okay, I don't remember if this was your favorite Michamocha, but I thought it was. Is Velvet Sea? Is that one of your favorites? Okay, we're going to do that one.
I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the, mi chamocha, ba'ilili Adonai, mi chamocha, Nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, O sefele, Nora tehilot, O sefele. I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the velvet sea, oh, I've been waiting in the, I've been waiting in the.
Okay, so for every bar and bat mitzvah student, I have to subject them to the Yismechu on a Friday night, because usually we do this with the whole community. So you are our whole community. By now you should know it, because I think this is probably the third or fourth time we've done it for our quarantine web stream. So this is our Yismechu. It is about the joy of Shabbat. Even on our darkest day, may we find joy in this special Shabbat. And so there is the Jewography, or the Jewer size that goes along with it, that helps us to be a little happier. So would you like to demonstrate that for us? Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Excellent. So now we're going to do that 8 times. So if you didn't get it that time, you'll get it by the end. And here is my promise: you will feel that much more joyful when we are finished with this beautiful and energetic prayer. Page 162 if you're following your Siddur.
Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat,
feel more joyful now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like a proven fact. So we have this prayer to help us, launch us into our Amidah prayer, our prayer of standing, our prayer of reverence, our prayer to ask God for what we need in this moment of the week. So please rise as you are able, page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufia gitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Hasadim Tovim, B'Kanei HaKol, B'Zocher Hasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo ve'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechakel Chayim bechesed, Mechayei Hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim berofei olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishnei afar, Michamo chabad givurot, Umito melach, Melech mimit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atal hachayot hachol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom haluch ha'sela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
We continue in silent prayer through page 180, using the words on the right or the left side of the page, or the words within your heart. When you have completed your silent prayer, please be seated.
Different kinds of healing. Healings of the heart, healing of the mind, healing for society, for individuals, for groups of people, for the world. Somehow the Mishaberach rings like a powerful prayer that all of us really need this week. So much has happened. The images on television are burned and blazed into our eyes, and I'll talk about them in my sermon. But if there are those of you out there who have loved ones that you would like to recall in our Misha Berach, please begin sharing them with the cantor being the live stream. Type it into Facebook. There's a little bit of a delay. And so we ask that God watch over those who are sick of heart and mind, who are suffering from addictions, for those who are caregivers, who are in need of comfort and strength as they minister to those that they love so very much. I think especially of my sister Dina and so many loved ones in my own personal circle of family. We ask that you all say the name of a person or two that is important to you. And Cantor, have some names been shared as well?
Patrice Burke, Diane Fiorentino, Zenon and the Filer family. Go to our YouTube. Nick Cordero, Mark Dietz, Brian Tabak, Barbara Raven, Dolores Bale, Stuart Baker, Mindy Nanny, Officer Shay Michelonis, Holly Ginsberg. We have Arlene Cohen, Art Marshall, Sonia Haggerty. Jeff Nelson, Yvonne Sweden, Herbie Frey.
Think of all of these and so many others as we join together in our Misha Berach prayer, the words found on page 371.
And Jackie Spotkin.
Shabbat Shalom. We begin the sermon by taking a breath. Life, breath, breathing. It has been an unsettling, disturbing 2 weeks in America. The death of George Floyd, viewed by millions across the world, prompted demonstrations and riots on an almost daily basis this past week. Never in recent memory has our country appeared more divided. Expressions of outrage and pain and frustration rarely felt so poignant and urgent. Who among us couldn't be moved by what we saw? The knee of police officer Derek Chauvin on the throat of George Floyd. He pleaded, "I can't breathe." And for more than 8 minutes, bystanders looked on, and eventually on the video, millions looked on as this poor soul lay on the ground, gasping for air. A second video, revealed days later, showed that there were other officers assisting him, holding him down, pinning him down as he took his last gasp of air. When I announced that I was going to be speaking on this subject, I received some interesting comments, some via posts on social media, some personal emails to me, others directed to me in person. Some were proud that I would be speaking about this important subject of race. Many wrote beautiful things in response to my weekly essay, this one entitled Race in the Time of Corona. Others were upset. What about the police, Rabbi? What about the violence? What about the destruction of property? Why should a few bad actors taint the entire police force? So I thought to myself as I was writing the sermon, why can't both be true? Why is it one or the other? Why is it I have to pick between supporting the police and those who demonstrate peacefully? Why is it that why can't both truths be true? Why can't we acknowledge that law enforcement across America has a difficult job, and that most police officers are good and fearless champions of justice, willing to put their lives on the line every day so that our freedoms are there for us, that those freedoms are preserved at all costs? And this acknowledgement can live side by side with the reality that we as a nation have a problem. In years past, we made progress in which we tackled the great racial divide, but some of that progress has been eroded. We took 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And in many cases, it simply has not been enough. And why can't we decry the violence of the protesters while affirming the right to those to peacefully protest? Free speech, the right to assemble, those are cherished values by Americans. And why can't we understand that as much as we try to put ourselves in the shoes of a person of color, it is impossible to truly understand their experience, especially when it is viewed through the lens of America's original sin, slavery. You know, as Jews, we are often at the forefront of forming an alliance with the black community. And one of the reasons is because of our experience of tragedy through the years. We are quick to call attention to the Holocaust and what happened to us 75, 80 years ago. That pain still lives with us. And when we look at the world through that prism of the Holocaust, we know that there is anti-Semitism that continues to rear its ugly head. And even more than that, every time we do a Jewish wedding and we stomp on the glass, the rabbis say that is to remember the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. That was 2,000 years ago. We see the world through a pretty big lens of persecution, of tragedy, anti-Semitism. It is with us. We struggle with it, we fight for our rights, but it has made us a more empathetic people so that when others are hurting, we'd like to feel that, well, we feel their pain. We understand. But our glasses are not necessarily the same as theirs. We might see the world through different lenses, but what we must try to do is have a shared heart that beats as one. There's an old Hasidic story of a Rebbe who's surrounded by his disciples. These disciples are in awe of the Rebbe. And they come up to him and they say, Rabbi, Rabbi, we love you. We love you. You're so important to us. We love you. And the Rebbe finally gets enough of this, and he looks at them and says, my students, if you love me, tell me this. Anything. What's the question? And he says, tell me what gives me pain. If you truly love me, you will know what gives me pain. Love. Love is powerful, but if we truly love our neighbor, we learn to know what gives them pain. The Rebbe taught us well. We need to learn empathy. We need to learn to put ourselves in the other person's shoes. We need to understand that everyone's life experience is not the same, and that we have our own truths that we cherish and we hold on to, because those truths are the manner in which we navigate this world, and by which we understand this world, and by which we beseech this world in our own prayers, well, especially when we look for a world of justice. It's time we understand what brings pain to people of color, and it's time we listen. And then perhaps we as a society, all of us will learn to breathe again. In Jewish tradition, we have a saying, when truth is spoken and justice is done, then peace is established. Pirkei Avot. For truth to be spoken, each of us must learn to listen, opening our ears to hear one another's truth and our hearts to understand it. For justice to be done, it must exist for everyone, rich and poor alike, those of every religion, race, culture, and background, those with power and those without. Only then can we find the wholeness that true peace represents. Floyd's death under the knee of that white Minneapolis Police Department officer on May 25th ignited a furor in this country, the likes of which we have not seen in so very, very long. It was so different, and yet it was so much the same. For so long, for too long, they had been promised reforms. They did not come about. They had been promised justice, did not come about. They had been promised, be patient and it will come. And justice did not come. And so this particular instance ignited within each one of them a familiarity of experience, whether they lived in Minneapolis or Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or any number of large urban cities, including Las Vegas. A familiarity of experience in which they all said, we are with you, George Floyd. We can't breathe either. And we are gasping for air and grasping for justice. This last episode of racial injustice reached another level. The revulsion was instant and widespread. No one was cautioning that we should get all the facts before rushing to judgment. Moreover, this incident occurred on the heels of two other highly publicized examples of injustice. One example that you'll recall, because we've seen these videos over and over again, is a white woman in Central Park who was being admonished by a black man who was bird watching. Christian Cooper, he's out there, a nice gentleman. He's trying to watch the birds, and there's a big sign in plain view that says, please keep your dog on a leash. And He sees a woman and just asks her nicely to please put a leash on her dog because it's scaring the birds away. And right away, she gets out her phone and she says, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the police. And he says, go ahead, call the police. She says, I'm going to call the police. And he starts to film her. Don't film me. Don't film me. He keeps filming her. She says, go ahead and call the police. Doesn't come near her. And she says, there's an African-American man. I'm in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. Please send the cops immediately. And the whole world saw what an actress she was. And they saw that this woman, who we could see as our neighbor, our friend, our fellow churchgoer or synagogue goer, she wasn't what she appeared to be at all. There was within her prejudice and a bigotry that came out at a moment in time when she thought she wouldn't be caught. And that followed on the heels of another example that happened on May 5th. A black man, Ahmad Arbery, who was just jogging along, again, just having fun. But he was found guilty by a jury of whites, jury of being guilty of being black. And they chased him they hunted him down by a truck. They shouted at him racial epithets. And eventually they captured and they shot him and killed him. These examples hit home not because they're the exception, and maybe not because they are the rule. There are a lot of good people in this country, people who are colorblind and who want to do their best to create communities of trust. These examples hit home because just as Jews understand that not all non-Jews are anti-Semitic, it doesn't deny the reality that there are anti-Semites in the world. And likewise, just because all whites are not racist does not deny the black experience that all too many are. And that all too many on the police force are filled with this insidious institutional racism that we have not been able to eradicate. I feel for the good cops because they have to live alongside the bad cops. They must get tired of explaining themselves and saying, you don't know how hard my job is. At some point, we're all going to agree that bad cops are bad. And they have to be fired, and they have to be removed, and that justice cannot come too swiftly or quickly because people are tired of waiting for justice. This week, Time magazine had an interesting article about the police department in Minneapolis. Everything about Derek Chauvin's case, from his long list of previous conduct complaints to the 44-year-old police officer's brutal calm as he pressed his knee to George Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes until he died, spoke to the decades of failure to address the systemic problems that plagued the Minneapolis Police Department. This was not new. More than half a dozen government investigations and reports reviewed by Time magazine show that the same reforms were recommended time and again over the past 2 decades in the Minneapolis Police Department to increase accountability, curb use of force violations, and build up community trust, with seemingly little implementation. People in this community have been very concerned about the Minneapolis Police Department for a very long time, says Hans Lee, a pastor at Calvary Lutheran Church. It was a tinderbox. Kanya Bennett, the American Civil Liberties Union senior legislative counsel leading the organization's federal work on police use of force, noted, agencies like the Minneapolis Police Department, which is the center of our attention, give the police killing of George Floyd, well, there should have been Department of Justice and intervention there a long time ago. For black residents of Minneapolis, who make up 1/5 of the city's population, the outrage over Floyd's killing followed a familiar pattern. Every minute caught on camera leading up to his death seemed to echo previous police abuses in the area. There was Christian Burns, a 44-year-old black man who was killed in front of his children when police officers put a chokehold in 2002. There was David Smith, a 28-year-old mentally ill black man who was killed when a Metropolitan Minneapolis Police Department officer pinned him down with his knee for 4 minutes in 2010. There was a 24-year-old Jamar Clark shot by officers who responded to a paramedic call in 2015. There was Philando Castile, a beloved cafeteria worker, shot by police in front of his girlfriend and her 4-year-old child in 2016. Justice in each of those cases was denied, and pent-up hostility and lack of community trust grew and grew and grew, and there was a flame being held gently, tightly by the community. And with this latest death, it became too hot to hold, and it was dropped, and the fire burned ablaze. Protesters came all over, spontaneously, community after community after community, to say, we want justice, we want to breathe, we want to be seen, we want to live. The day after Floyd's death, Chauvin was fired from the police department, since been charged with second-degree murder. The 3 other officers were charged with aiding and abetting. It's a start. It's a start, but it's not enough. The reason that there are demonstrations all throughout America, including Las Vegas, is because what happened in Minneapolis has happened everywhere, and it needs to stop. We must engage in a national conversation on race, and we must have sustainable focus on this issue. It is all too easy to become distracted by the bad actors who are engaging in violence and opportunistic looting. Their wrongful actions and the hurt caused to law enforcement should be decried with loud, passionate voices, voices that not only call for justice, but for peaceful demonstrations. David Suissa, editor-in-chief of the Jewish Journal and weekly columnist, wrote this past week some insightful thoughts. What especially pains me, he writes, is that the writing has taken over the story. Floyd's murderer doesn't deserve that we change the subject. His crime ought to remain the story. But that's not how the media works. When the media sees burning police cars, the looting of small businesses, or an attack on CNN officers, you can be sure, on CNN offices, you can be sure they'll be all over it. Instead of talking about police violence, they're going to talk more about protester violence. Now that's not justice. The rage among protesters is justified, but the rioting doesn't advance their cause. During a press conference on Saturday, Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti urged people who would resort to violence, do not do a disservice to the memory of George Floyd. Do not make a disservice to the folks who have died at the hands of the brutality that we stand against. Now, these are easy comments to make for those who are not victims of racism or violence. But the mayor has a point. The rage among protesters is justified, but the rioting doesn't advance their cause. Instead of the summer of riots, this should be the summer of, I can't breathe. If I had a magic wand, I would organize million people marches with protesters across the nation wearing masks that say, I can't breathe. In fact, everyone who wears a mask during these pandemic times should write, I can't breathe on them. It's all too easy to let our focus shift to other matters that are pressing. The economy, the pandemic, world affairs, the environment. The list is long, but we need to move this issue from priority number 12 or 25 to the top of the list. We are fighting a virus called COVID-19, but we are also fighting a virus called racism. Both can destroy us, one from without, the other from within. So how do we heal? How do we learn to breathe again? At a time of social distancing, we need to come together. At a time when we are told to wear masks, we must find ways to find the oxygen needed for difficult conversations. At a time of racial strife, we must find it in our hearts to feel and see the pain of our fellow man. Some suggestions. We have an opportunity, a moment to act, to pass bipartisan legislation that would address concerns of police training, the use of chokeholds, systemic racism within certain police departments. If we don't do something that is real and sustainable and transparent, we will have lost a whole generation of young people who will grow up with disdain for law enforcement. We cannot have that. We cannot have a society that views the police as enemies or mistrustful. It's a partnership to protect our communities. It's a sacred partnership with a sacred trust. And for true healing to occur, we must have federal aid for communities that have been the subject to rioting and destruction of property. Many of these businesses were not insured. If on top of the economic challenges caused by COVID-19, they have to deal with the destruction that was caused by these rioters, what life can they have? How will they be able to afford to rebuild? We must help them to rebuild their neighborhoods, their businesses, so that we can indeed get on with the business of healing. And on a more individual level, when acts of racism occur, we need to reach out to our black and brown brothers and friends with support, a willingness to listen to their needs, and the courage to act on their behalf, including financially supporting anti-racist initiatives, calling out racism on social media, and showing up to stand with them arm in arm, side by side, to fight injustice. So, my friends, I'd like to conclude with a prayer written by one of my colleagues, Rabbi Andrea Goldstein of Congregation Sharei Emeth of St. Louis, Missouri. Source of all being, creator of all life, may your goodness find its way into the hearts of all your children. May those who wield power do so with a balance of wisdom, justice, and compassion. May those who feel powerless remember their intrinsic worth, and also act with a balance of wisdom, integrity, and compassion. May we all feel called to action based on the injustices of racism and see ourselves not as enemies of one another, not in struggle with one another, but as human beings created in the image, B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, connected to one another's well-being. May all of us come to acknowledge the racism that is pervasive in our region and our nation. May we commit to sitting down with one another in honest dialogue, opening our hearts in compassion to one another, bearing witness to the pain and fear of one another, even if, and especially if, the other looks and seems so different from ourselves. May we commit to joining together in acts of justice that will bring about equality in education, economic opportunities, law enforcement, and judicial proceedings. May each of us come to understand that ultimately my experience of freedom, justice, and peace is inextricably linked to the freedom, justice, and peace of every other person in our community, our city, our country, our world. May we open our eyes to the invisible lines of connection that unite us, and with clarity of vision, continue to work for a world where every person's life is valued, cherished, and loved. Let us say, Amen.
after Pittsburgh occurred, and I find it so relevant to sing it again tonight.
Oh, sweet Spirit, hear my prayer. Help these words heal someone out there. I am but a voice, just a cry in the air, but I sing nonetheless. This pain we share.
Oh, sweet friends, come and dry your eyes and hold each other by this tree of life. I'm angry and tired of this great divide, but I sing nonetheless with love on our side. Oh, sweet souls who feel broken now, we'll heal together somewhere, somehow. Time and again we have been let down, but we sing nonetheless, still whole and still proud.
Oh, sweet Spirit, hear my prayer.
Help these words heal someone out there. At this time, we rise for Aleinu, but perhaps you were watching last week, or perhaps you weren't. A special Aleinu that was written for this moment by Holly Schaffner, Sarah Stock Mayo, and Rachel Stock. Aleinu, it is on us to bow in praise before God as a sign of reverence and perhaps submission. It is on us to bend our knees only in reverence for life and only for submission to that which is good. Aleinu, it is on us. Our sages teach that the angels have no knees, their legs do not bend, they do not need knees because their entire purpose is to stand tall before God in service. But we are not these kinds of angels. We bend under the weight of our shoulders. We let this twisted world twist us into knowing that our service to God comes not only in the form of thoughts and prayers, but in the form of action. Aleinu, it is on us. Va'anachnu korim, we bend at the knee. Umishtachavim, we bow at the waist. Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, we stand straight before God. Hakadosh baruch hu, we who are made in God's image must be holy because God is holy. So we rise to repair this very broken world. We stand straight because we can stand up, because we must. Aleinu, it is on us. We bend our knees before the God of love in devotion and in disruption, in protest and in praise, from shame to shlemut, wholeness. We rise before the God of truth to march and to move, to bend this broken arc towards justice. Aleinu, it is on us. Bent knees are for showing reverence, to prostrate in peaceful protest, to prepare us for moving, to prepare us for marching. Bent knees are not for killing. God did not make knees for any other part of us than that. Aleinu, it is on us.
So we turn to our Cottage Prayer, page 598. And again, if you have names that you would like to share for Cottage, please share them with Cantor Now through the web stream on Facebook, as there is a 30-second delay. We say Cottage for Decline, Jerry Leschkold. We recall the Yortsites of Morris Aronoff, David Blumenfeld, Adam Cohen, S.C. Kotler, Max Feinerman, Abraham Figatner, William Fine, Esther Gennon, Robert Golobner, Julia Graber, Barbara Greenspun, Terry Hipsman, Al Kempenich Jr., Natalie Kranitz, Marilyn Mayer, Jack Miller, Stanley Navis, Edith Reback, Shana Rosenberg, Alexandra Selnick, Minerva Sternberg, Doris Tarnofsky, Shirley Unger, Sandy Walkman, Howard Watman, Thelma Weidenfeld, Anicia Rubel, and Nisim Yachbes.
Barbara Hennis, Dorothy Weiss Middleman, Gus Zuckerman, Mary Roseman Hodes,
Join together and sing Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash mirabah, v'yalma divrachi rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayedachal beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yeheshmei rabba mevorach le'olam omeil maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekusha barichu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiram v'yalma v'yamru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shamayim v'chayim, Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, Hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to which we say, Amen.
Amen. We want to thank Ricky for being here week after week during our quarantine Shabbats to give us beautiful piano accompaniment. And also we want to thank Haydin for being here as our bat mitzvah. What did I call you? Like the longest bat mitzvah that ever was. It was supposed to be in March. It's going to be in August. And she's a bat mitzvah celebration all the way up until that happens. And the rest of the year. Let's just give her the whole year.
Well, we're going to stretch it out.
We're going to stretch it out as long as we... Well, that's not true. Let her have her become bat mitzvah in August. And I also wanted to point out, we forgot to point this out, our CNT stay-at-home gala is now live. So what that is, there is a really cool silent auction in the works. You can actually get a museum tour of David Copperfield's museum with him.
Talking about the magician, David Copperfield,
like
the David Copperfield. Because I think the only way to get to his museum is by private invitation.
It is, and so that is being auctioned off.
That's a pretty
He's
special
also
thing.
One of our match
That's for
donors.
8 people.
Yes.
So it could be 4 groups of 2, could be 8 individuals. Let's see how this auction materializes
And
magically.
Some really, really cool, beautiful musicians who are going to be joining us on the night before Father's Day, which is Saturday night, June 20th, for a virtual Havdalah in concert. And we might have a special pop-in from the magician himself. We'll see. Okay. So you're going to want to join us for that. I just put the ad up on Facebook yesterday and then again this morning. So go ahead and go to our website to sign up and get your tickets for this stay-at-home gala. We really need your help. I know there's a lot of causes asking for money right now, and we're asking for you to give whatever you can, and at the very least, show up.
Whatever you give, match, dollar for dollar.
Yep.
How about that?
Pretty exciting.
Right. So please, it'll be a great, great cause. All right.
Kiddush.
Da-da-da-da-da, Haydin.
So grab your juice or your wine. Go ahead and grab yours. Get the special bat mitzvah cup.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. Pretty good.
The Taradalski family is sponsoring our challah tonight. What, you don't want to show it?
No, you got to talk about it.
Okay. So, unfortunately, Olivia's bat mitzvah was also postponed to September, but they decided to make us a challah tonight. And this challah is cinnamon, sugar, chocolate chip, rainbow.
Okay, imagine what that looks like before we show you.
It looks
all right.
Good.
And what about next week? Is that sponsored?
Yes, next week is for Atara's bat mitzvah. She's becoming bat mitzvah. I don't know what the flavor is going to be for that.
And what about the week after?
Yes, that will be Abigail's. And that one's going to be cool because Alyssa Polis is going to be baking that, I believe.
Okay, so when do we have an opening? This is amazing.
There's not an opening until July.
Until July. So we're looking for wild and crazy challah, okay? So the wilder, the crazier, the better. And let's see what we got tonight.
All right.
Whoa.
That is pretty.
That is pretty cool. Baruch atah Adonai, you get the middle. Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. All right.
Oops.
That's good.
I missed one, but
Look at that. I know, because of all the sprinkles. That's pretty good.
it's really good.
All right.
Let me put it here. Okay. So this is a time that we need love, as much love as we can, and we will build this world together in love. We conclude with the prayer, Olam Chesed Yibaneh by Rabbi Menachem Creditor. I must build this world with love, and you must build this world with love. You ready? You know this one?
Olam.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You can put that on here if you want. You gotta take it home.
I'll give it to myself.
Okay.
Olam
Take a step back.
Chesed Yibaneh.
La 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 la. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya la 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 la.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya la 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 la. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Ya la 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 la. I must build this world from love. I must build this world from love. Ya la 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 la. And you must build. And you must build this world from love. Ya la 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 la. And if we build. And if we build this world from love. Ya la 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 la. Then God will build. Then God